Ja. Mhm.
So every about 4 miles from me, there's evacuations,
Oh. Mhm.
and we are 2 days ago, the wind was blowing right toward our property, and we thought we were going to be evacuated. The smoke was just billowing over our house.
Ja.
It's very smoky. It's been very smoky for a month here.
Mhm.
And so I've been using that information to share with people and go, look at what's happening, and that all the people that have had to be evacuated. We don't even live in the forest. I sent you pictures, and our home is threatened
Mhm.
because this is the biggest fire they've had in Colorado history. It's called the Cameron Peak Fire.
Ja.
So quite serious. I thought I was maybe going to have to cancel this uh, interview because I didn't know if we were going to be here.
Mhm.
But now the winds have calmed down, and uh, it's blowing, but now it's blowing toward this north. So the people that live the other direction are at risk. And I guess it's very encroaching on Estes Park, which is a community up in the mountains about 25 minutes from us.
Mhm.
So all the fires that is this it, Christian? Is this the fires that were talked about in the prophecies, the predictions?
Yes, of course. This is just another one of the many that have been and will come in the future. Yes, it's not exactly this fire, of course, but this is one in a series.
Right, that's what I mean. I mean, there's fires in Oregon, there's fires in California,
Mhm.
and very serious, in California. It's serious here too, but I mean, they've been dealing with it a lot longer than we have. But we have friends that have lost their homes here in previous years. It's just this is the worst year. This is the biggest fire that they've had. And there's a couple of different fires burning here. That's just one of them.
Mhm. And
So,
also meadows are burning, not
yes,
just forests. Everything is
exactly.
dry in autumn. Everything, you
Hmm.
had no rain.
No, we haven't had rain in a long time,
Mm.
and everything's very dry.
Mhm.
So, we, of course, on our property, we don't have trees right up against our house, and we've put metal roofs on everything
Mhm.
to help with that. But still, there's danger.
Yeah.
And there's the big Thompson River runs between us and the fire, so that does help.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah, for a few days there, we really thought um, we could see the glow, you know, on the other
Mhm.
side of the mountain. It wasn't
Yeah.
the sun. So anyway, but okay, so I want to go ahead and first I want to talk to you about I always ask everyone about themselves, and whatever you'd like to share with everyone is, fine with me. I just want you to tell me a bit about yourself, where you're from, how you found the mission, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Christian Frehner. That's my name. Been born in 1952. I'm a senior. I'm retired. I'm married since 1977 with the same wife, 3 children, and 2 grandchildren. I'm retired since 3 years, and I found Figu for the first time in 1976, but wasn't hooked at that time because. But then in 1982, I think it was when I saw this coffee table book in a bookstore in Zurich, bought it, and then this was the start. Then I contacted Figo and became a passive member, and in 87 core group member.
So when you, I bet when you first found that book, you didn't even think you would be this involved in the mission, did you? I mean,
No, in 76, I had a subscription of a German esoteric journal magazine. And then when I read about this Billy Meier in Switzerland, I thought, oh, I'm not sure. In Switzerland, if it would have happened perhaps in the United States or somewhere with some uh, person, it was stupid actually, but I wasn't prepared.
mhm.
Also in a Swiss paper, there was an article about the Billy Meier, but then I was not ready. I was into all kind of strange stuff, ufology, and then I was also a part of Advocacy Foundation. I had a newsletter subscribed from the Advocacy Foundation. In one of these newsletters, there was a little article about Billy Meier, the photo book, the best photos ever. And so that's exactly the book I have seen a couple of weeks later in the bookstore.
That's interesting. So you weren't looking for it. You just saw it.
I wasn't looking for it. I just saw it, and then it was, I had to, it only this one copy was there in this shop. Someone brought it there to be sold. And then I took this, of course, looked through it, and then bought it and went home and got in contact. I had to wait because I wrote to Hinwil, but Billy
Mhm.
wasn't there anymore. There's no mentioning in this Genesis 3 book about Semyase Silver Star Center. They were secretly Wendell Stevens and Lee Elders. And then I wrote to Billy Meier, Hinwil, and a couple of months later, I got a letter from Schmidt-Rütti from the Semyase Silver Star Center. And then I bought the first book I bought was the Contact Note, the first book. Started reading, then I bought the whole rest of it. These were about 19 books,
Mhm.
each 200 pages. Yeah, that's that
And
was the big.
you didn't live near the center. Didn't you move closer to the
No,
center? No?
no,
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
no. I had, because of my profession. Uh, when I came into the core group, I was already a director for 7 homes for mentally handicapped adults, and I couldn't move.
Oh,
I had to
okay.
here,
Well,
but it's not very far from the center. I have to drive 55 minutes from here.
okay.
This is compared to United States, this is not very far away,
Mhm. No, it isn't.
I think.
I asked you that because I'd heard a story. Now it's clear that you moved closer to the center. I don't remember where I heard it.
No. That it never occurred to me that I should do this. No.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, okay. Because it was also, and I may just take this part out, but because I don't remember, it was a long time ago. Someone said that Billy found you a job.
Yes, that's
Oh, he did?
correct.
Oh,
That's
okay.
correct, of
Oh,
course.
oh,
I had to go to the center about,
maybe it was from you.
I was up there once, and then I got an invitation, a telephone call from Bernadette that Billy wants to have a talk with me. Then I
Okay.
went up to work, and then Billy informed me that he had a phone call from an old man the canton where I live here.
Mhm.
He's searching for a Nachfolger. If you are finishing a job, the next person, how do you say this in English? Antecessor. I should have. He was 80 years old. He
Mhm.
was the head of this, the director,
Yeah.
and he wanted to have a young person to continue his
Okay.
take over his task. And then I had to go. I drove up to this home with Bernadette, and then within half a year, I had a new job actually.
Okay.
And I'm very glad that Billy offered me or informed me about this profession, this kind of job, because it was very interesting, very rewarding, very fulfilling. Because I stayed then in this job for over 32, 33
Wow.
years. Mhm.
Wow, that's great though that you were able to do something that you loved.
Yeah, and I learned much about human beings, being patient, and so
Mhm.
everything. Because these people with their handicaps, most of them handicapped or yeah, since birth, and so they are very glad and grateful and simple persons. And if you are being together with them, they had made no. They were sincere.
Mhm.
Either they were laughing, or sometimes they, they were mad, or sad. But we had very funny days and many situations. It was really rewarding
Mhm.
for me. And I lived there under the same roof with these people, with my family, and my children grew up in this home together with these people.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
Which taught them a lot, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes, the teachers told us, or my wife, that our kids are very social. They are behaving very good among the other children. They are not selfish, and they are really cooperative and caring for the other people or other children.
That's very important.
Mhm.
I'm seeing more and more that that's not the case around us. And
Yeah. And in these times, we were out quite outside the village, and in order to get to their friends, they had to drive by bicycle or by foot. We didn't have smartphones, anything like this, and
mhm.
this was I would say it was an advantage
Yeah.
compared to today, of course. But we wouldn't have been we would have been strict if smartphone
Yes.
would have been actual. In those times we would have been strict and would have had control, of course.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. I remember when my oldest son wanted a cell phone. I told him he was too young. He didn't get one till he graduated from high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I just didn't think they were a good idea. I said, "We've survived without them so far.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you'll live without one." And I see
Yeah,
how distracted the kids are now with them, that they don't want
yeah,
to do anything else. The kids around and the adults. I'll be
yeah,
out in public and I see people on their phones and their kids are hanging all over them and crawling on them and
yeah.
pulling at them and the
Mm.
parents are just I want to go over and go, "Hey." They need your attention, but of course I don't.
Yeah, but this is very bad for society,
Yes.
for the future, for a community, and for the attention span of people, because they
Yes.
are all the time, there's information flowing from one side out to the other. They don't have time for pondering things and constantly on alert for the next message.
Hmm.
And it's really, as Billy said, the digital age, digitalism,
Hmm.
it came too early for humanity, actually, because they cannot cope with digital digital possibilities, because they are exaggerate the use, and they
Hmm.
are many people are depending, even even
Yes.
addicted. And so this is that's really a threat to society.
Yeah, I saw an article about, have you ever heard of virtual eating? So they're developing a program now where for people, they're saying it's going to be a solution to diabetes and obesity and things like that. But I think that needs to be handled in the natural way, where you self-control. But instead, people can put on masks and sensory objects, and they'll be able to it'll feel as if they are eating, but they are not.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
actually people could starve to death doing that,
Mm,
because they'll give them a little, I guess, some little cube that only has a few calories in it, so there's the
mm,
sensation of something in their mouth,
yeah,
but in reality they're not getting any nutrition.
yeah.
And so I keep seeing this world of all these people, you know hooked into all this fantasy stuff, and our world is burning around them and they're not paying any attention,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm,
getting worse.
yeah.
And I think this, how you were talking about all the information streaming in, and they don't have time to ponder or think about things. It seems to me that's making people much more reactionary, like with the
Mm-hmm.
political division in America as an example. They don't stop and think about what is being said in the political slogans or what's behind it, or they just react. And
Exactly, because now with all these devices, people don't have, or don't take the time to think about it. Just there's information, they don't like it or like it, then da 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 da, whoosh,
yes.
outside, and and that's really it's dangerous,
Hmm.
and the damage can be a real damage to the thinking, to the overall thinking processes and development of people. And another aspect is also that they are enforcing all kinds of strife, of dissension, of quarreling, and of putting down other human people, and despising them, and really uh, it's the limit of of somehow of decency is slowing down slowly but surely.
Yeah, and the feelings for others, you
Exactly,
know,
exactly. Yeah.
it's really
Mhm.
a shame. And I know that what do you think about the coronavirus exacerbating that? Isn't that an unfortunate consequence, that people are not able to get together because they really shouldn't right now unless they're protected? I know you guys have opened up the center, but there's a lot of you know understandably strict protocol for people to come and visit, for the
Mhm.
protection of themselves and for the people at the center.
Mhm.
Um, do you see this making that worse? The-
Yeah, actually, the big mistake was made at the beginning
Mhm.
because all the borders on all countries should have been closed down.
Yes.
Then, within a couple of weeks, of perhaps 3 months, the pandemic would have been terminated,
Yes.
actually. But since this hasn't been done, now we have the problem. The longer the situation is developing, the more the stupid people are coming to the surface because they don't have they don't many people don't realize the severity severity
Severity. Hmm.
severity of the of the virus, what it can cause, and they just think on themselves. They don't. They perhaps it has a relationship with the smartphone attention span. They cannot wait. They cannot endure being secluded at home and not having to party all the time. They are they now perhaps they are too stupid to realize what should be necessary, because actually it's clear if you have an epidemic, a pandemic, the only thing is keep distance, don't go to other people. It's actually so simple, but
It is.
other people.
Well, and I know people that have read what the plan have said, and other experts, of course, have verified this, and they're still traveling all over, and eating in restaurants, and if you try to explain anything to them, they just say, well, it's peer pressure, or
uh,
yeah.
mhm. And so it's actually for the sane people, so that not the intelligent people. It's to take care of themselves
Hmm.
and go their way and say, no, I don't come, I will not attend, I keep distance. And so even if they are making fun of oneself or despising one or something like this, you have to take care of yourself, and that's it's of course the responsibility is there anyway all the time for one's own health and so on.
Yes.
In these times, it's especially important to keep oneself control of oneself, and
Yes.
have a longer view, and not think from one day to the other, and because in the long run, if you're careful, then you may survive. And if you are too stupid, and if you are caught and get the infection with all the when it's a worse, it's if you're really ill, you can die. Then actually you have died because of your own foolishness. And then this is actually a bad thing. But of course, you can catch the virus also if you are careful.
Yes, but at
But
least you were not, because you were careless.
yes, it, of course, that because the masks are not 100% proof
Yes.
against the virus, and so, but the, the more you take care, the less the danger that you get
Hmm.
catch the.
Well, what came to my mind when you were talking about people having the strength to resist the pressure from other people,
Mhm,
to not be careful, that also extends into overpopulation.
mhm,
There's that pressure that people feel from other people. If they think that overpopulation is actually an issue, but the people around them ridicule them. Or I know in certain cultures, I was shocked to find out that at a while back, that in India, for example, if you don't have children, you're ridiculed.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't even wrap my brain around it. In the US, it's more subtle. It's more like, well, you're supposed to get married and have kids, and that's what your purpose is. There isn't anything else, that's kind of a lot of the attitude. But that extends into everything when we find out what the proper thing to do is to have that strength and develop that strength within ourselves to resist the pressures and the judgment of others and the misunderstandings, and understand that they just don't understand.
Also, the traditions is also a great obstacle to sanity and to reasonableness.
Yes.
Like in Africa, many cultures, the males, a man is a man if he fathers as many children as possible
Uh-huh.
with different wives. Or in South America, also, you are a man if you have children, even if you don't take care of them, but you can boost your ego by fathering several children, actually. And so there are many really crazy traditions also, and yes,
Yeah,
traditions
there's a lot
actually.
to overcome. It's
Mhm. And the religion also,
yes,
who, which forbids to take
con-
anti-abortion
contraception.
measures
Yeah,
or anti-conception means.
right.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a issue in America where it's such, you know, um, the abortion issue here is so polarized.
Mhm.
And there, it seems like it's either one extreme or the other here. It's either a woman has a right to choose, it's her body, and then there's the other side. Um, okay, I'm getting a message from Zoom that I have a
I
feeling.
also saw it. Yeah, I also saw it here, but it continues, obviously. Do
Yes,
you still have many teenager pregnancies in the United States, or as this
it's
is this?
better. I'm talking more about it's better, but it depends on where you live here and the level of education, and because of um, well, I'm thinking more along the, like, for instance, in certain religious sects, that their woman is expected to have 4, 5, 6 children still,
Mhm,
and the Christian extremists
mhm,
frown on any type of control over that.
mhm,
So that's an obstacle here,
mhm. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Mhm,
Um, but so, in case they cut us off, I don't know that they're going to, but I want to start talking about your book.
yeah.
So I noticed I think this is a great little book for to pique people's interest. And I have to tell you right off the bat, what really struck me when I was going through here, when you were talking about Cal Korff, and I haven't read his books, any of his books, but I've read stuff about him, and is was he intentionally sloppy like that?
Yeah,
Because
I
when you
think
analyze the
he's stupid.
pictures,
He's stupid. Hasn't. On the one hand, I'm sure either he has a low intelligence
mhm,
and he's really an amateur and really a slop, sloppy
sloppy.
slop, sloppy worker or writer, or he, yeah,
No, no, we
of
don't know
course
for sure, do
he
we?
doesn't think logically. That's clear, and he's a cheat and he's a defamer. He's boosting himself all kinds of of professions he did, and an Israeli officer, many things. I think he's a pretender. What
Yeah.
do you pretend? Pretending to be greater than he is. Actually, he's yeah.
Yeah, it's well, I was just stunned at because what you did when you went through the pictures years ago, I was a question document examiner, which means I looked at documents, handwriting forgeries. And
Mhm.
so um, there's lots of different things you look at, like for instance, um, for evidence of tampering, or even obvious things like what is the postmark? When was this? I used to testify in court as an expert witness, and so say someone sent someone a letter and they would say, well, they sent me the letter, and they give a date. And you can pick up the envelope and say, well, the postmark shows you got that letter 2 months before. This is something you've submitted into evidence. And it reminded me of those little details that
Mhm.
people don't even think of when they're making up a story
Mhm.
or trying to misrepresent. And so I had to kind of chuckle when I saw your analysis, because you just went out and did a little bit of legwork and did some observation and just blew them out of the water. Just, you know, and I don't really understand. I don't know if it's fear or, I saw in the beginning of the book, you talk about Billy's quote about people's convictions, how you can't sway people from convictions. And I actually looked up what exactly does the word conviction mean, because I hadn't really thought about what that word means. And when I saw that it means you can't sway someone from their beliefs, their firmly held beliefs, I always thought conviction meant more like someone's they understood what was right and you couldn't, but it isn't. That isn't
Mhm.
what that means. So that was kind of interesting. Um, I I don't understand why you can put a book like this in front of someone and they won't even open it up to see. It's like, do they not want to know the truth? You know?
No, no. And the readers also these. I've quoted the praise, so-called the praise of these three persons there,
Yes,
and they disqualify themselves because they it's clear they didn't do the thinking anymore. They have their prejudice, and
yeah,
anyone who just is not open, a real scientist should be open all the time and should be prepared to be confronted with facts,
yes,
with factors that are contradict what one is believing or thought to be true until now. And of course, when Korf published this book, all the people who are thought were thinking anyway, UFOs is crap and delusion. There's no extraterrestrial life possible, and all these they just swallowed without much thinking. Because if on the surface, if you read, if you don't go stop and say, "Oh, moment," and so if you just flow through the book, you think, oh, oh, very, he, he's uh, he's disproving the Billy Meier case and everything. But if you, yeah, they just confirm their own belief, actually. And this is also a kind of a danger today with all these Google, Facebook issue where the information is adjusted to your interest, and you are not
exactly.
prompted anymore with inconvenient information, and so everything is smooth and yeah,
It's like an echo
adjusted
chamber.
for your liking, so you are not getting upset. And so with other information, you are not confronted with alternatives, and so yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? I see, how everything has positive and negatives in it, and I see some more, of course, are balanced one way or the other more. And I see the positives of something like Facebook, where it brings people together, where they can communicate, and like we share and we talk about the teaching and world events and stuff on Facebook. Yet we have this issue that, for instance, that even if you're posting something controversial, very few people are going to actually see it because of the algorithms, the way they're set up. What do you think a good alternative is to that?
Yeah, the most important thing is that people are critical. You can, of course, you can use Facebook, but we must always be aware about what's going on behind the scene.
Yeah.
And you don't just take one source of information anyway. So it also makes sense to perhaps use a newspaper on paper,
Yeah.
not just the small portions that
Right.
are flowing in background information, and alternative information
You have to do a
channels.
little work, you
You
know?
have to do work and not
Mhm.
just choose one channel and then believe everything that's coming into this, because it's a human reason reason and intelligence actually requires to have a broad view all the time, and not swallow just from one feeder feeding
Yeah, it
feeding.
seems that people are losing their intellectual curiosity.
Yeah, and the Billy Meier case actually are what's what's hidden for most people from the teaching. Actually, if you are really starting with the teaching, you get independent thinking, and
Yeah.
you more and more you get you have kind of a red a red light going on, and you have a beacon where you can compare
Hmm.
what's flowing in towards you, and you can say, this is religious, this is just belief. And so you find you are more capable to be logical, and detect what's logic and what's not logical, what's just an assumption, what is just a claim. And so, but it's work all the time.
Yes.
You must always be attentive, and not be lulled, lulled, lulled,
Lulled. Yes.
lulled.
Yep. Lulled into complacency.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and
Mhm.
I see one of the big confusions when you're talking about you need to be attentive is the political structures that were being presented with that, and I sent you an email about that. I said, what do you think about,
Mhm.
being Biden being elected? Is it going to make anything better? Because I just see it's kind of more of the same, some a little better here, some worse there, but more of the same. And, I feel this kind of confusion over um, socialism is being promoted as the answer. And I absolutely agree that we should all be in a more humane society, and that capitalism is destroying our planet.
Mhm.
It is. I mean, because it's about growth, right? It's about more and more producing more and more and more. But yet, what I see is, and tell me what you think about this, is that any structure that is put in place right now in the level of thinking in our country, at least, is going to be corrupt. I don't see how something can suddenly come in and be for the good of the people in our country just like that. That just seems too easy to me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And you have the problem is that you have two two opponents
Hmm.
uh, factions or
Yes.
huge groups that
Yeah.
are fighting. Actually, it's kind of a war going
Yes.
on in the
Hmm.
United States, and beneath, behind everything, you also have powerful, how should you say, agents,
Hmm.
uh, factions that are
Hmm.
steering and pushing, like the CIA, the FBI,
Yes.
and from the government, and then also the economic, from the economic field, all kinds of interests that are only looking for themselves, and they have, and also if you as you can see from the doings and the scheming and everything from the United States outwards on the whole planet, you see that these forces behind who are steering everything or influencing, they don't have the well-being of the population in mind.
Right.
That's absolutely no. There's no interest for the wellness of the people, because if you see when you see how many dollars are spent for for the military and everything, then on the other hand you see so many poor people, uneducated people, bad education system, the infrastructure decaying in many places and
Yes.
everything. Why, if they would really be for the people, for the wellness of people, they would stop making warmongering outside, and would devote, make America great again. They would actually invest this money in the United States of America to the benefit of.
Of the people. And I think a lot of people don't even understand how huge the American empire, because that's really what it is, and how many bases there are all over the world. When I first started investigating that, I was stunned. There are over 80 bases, military bases, in various countries around the world.
Yeah, at least those that are known. Of course, they have
Yes,
also other
that are
other
known.
cells, and yes, in one of the next Figuzeitzeichen, I think in the next or in November, perhaps a
Hmm.
long article from me will be written about
Oh,
this
okay.
topic, and Osama bin Laden is in the title, and then it's a rather long article in German about this, maybe interesting for being translated. Then yeah, but this is really, and if you see actually where all these bases are along the boundaries, the borders of Russia,
Hmm.
all around, and all these countries around Russia and Russia itself are, the only goal is to attack United States of America over the ocean. It's so so silly actually. But of course, if you are slapping other human beings all the time,
Hmm.
you, there's an old record I have in my collection. You cannot beat people up all the time and have them say I love you.
Yes.
So actually,
Yes. Yeah. And, what I've run into here in the US with the people that I know that aren't a part of FIGU,
mhm,
they have bought into their, all those wars are going on to protect our freedom. They just say it over and over again like a mantra, and they don't
mhm.
want to hear uh, that it's something different. I think the younger people are understanding it, but a lot of the older people just still, are repeating that this is to protect our freedoms.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
going on?
That's just simplistic
It
thinking,
is.
and actually not a lack of intelligence. because these people have not thought through, and these are the marionettes that are led like sheep over the pasture, and then at the end landing at the butcher.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly. So we kind of got off on another subject, but um, so when I noticed that in your that you said the purpose of this text is to present a fair, neutral, and unbiased treatment of an approach to the Billy Meier case. So, do you feel that that hasn't been done up until now?
Uh, that's at least that's what I'm trying to do. Of course, I noticed that there are several people who are want to try to convince other people. It's an understandable reaction, perhaps, if
Hmm.
someone finds the Billy Meier case and then is enthusiastic when
Hmm.
starting reading. This a person wants to share what one has learned, and
Yeah.
even if the knowledge is rather rather small, and they don't have grasped already that trying to convince or missionize other people is false,
Hmm.
and it's an assault on another human being if you want to you you want another person to take over your opinion and your belief, actually, if you try to convince another person, and you don't respect the freedom of the other person to believe or to think. uh, that's understandable, but we must come away, because
Hmm.
if you are looking at the world population, it's absolutely unrealistic that from one year to the other, half of the human population is looking at all the videos from Figu all over the planet. It because the the gap, the difference between reality and all these religious believings, stuff and nonsense is so great, but it's too great. So a person has to develop for a
Yes.
long time
Takes a lot of patience.
until the first reasonable thought finds some fruit, some good earth to grow. And so and it's also important that Figu people, I name them, people who
Hmm.
have begun studying what
Yes.
Figu is publishing, that they don't get high-handed and feel better than other human
Yeah.
beings, because this is
Yes.
a great mistake to make, because then they are on the same bed with the other human beings, because
Yeah.
you that
So,
is respectless.
yeah, you say that that actually leads right into what I was going to ask you. So, when I first realized what this case was, this really was, of course, I was excited and I told some people that I probably shouldn't have told. Should have left
Hmm.
it alone, but I backed off finally and went, okay, I really wanted to understand what missionizing really was. I mean, I thought about it a lot because I thought I don't want to be guilty of, you know, and pushing my beliefs onto other, or my opinions or whatever onto other people,
Hmm.
or this information, even though I know it's true.
Hmm.
Um, so could you give me an example from you? What would be a good example of someone missionizing, other than going up and knocking on a door, the most obvious? Some of the more subtle, nuanced ways people do it that maybe they're missing.
Yeah, perhaps starting telling all the relatives, all the sisters and brothers, and the parents and the uncles and everyone, and at school or on the job, about, oh, I have read this, and you should read this. This is for that's an obvious
Hmm.
mistake, but
Yeah.
actually the good thing is people who are missionizing or are eager, overly eager, they sooner or later have to learn
Yeah.
that that's not the correct way, because they have new enemies, or they are
Yes.
losing the job, or they have troubles in the family, and so it cannot last too long,
Right.
because soon that's the law of cause and effect, and you will learn. But you could avoid this mistake to be made from the beginning by thinking about it, and
Yes.
depending on what book you are starting with reading and studying,
Hmm.
and also regarding the personality a person has. Is he a young person who is enthusiastic, then it's different. But if you are starting to find the teaching with 50, perhaps you are more laid back and don't
Hmm.
rush around and
Yes.
be a preacher.
Well, and you've also learned, that a lot of people are going to think you're crazy, or
Yeah.
they're going to feel very threatened by it, or, whatever. But, I see a lot of confusion out there about what missionizing is. Um, like, for instance, if you're, this is what tell me what you think about this. I think if you post things on your Instagram or your Facebook page or something, and you're not going and putting it on other people's pages, or you're not tagging people, or you're just putting it there, right? So that
Mhm.
people have the choice to read it or not, that isn't missionizing.
No, I am also doing this on my private website. I'm putting all kinds of information, letter to the editors, or when I made a new film or something like this. It's just an information, because a person has to
Yes.
decide to type in the website,
Mm-hmm.
you, and then look at it. And this is, or writing a letter to the editor in a
Mm-hmm.
newspaper. And so this is, of course, this is not missionizing, or giving an answer in a discussion where you say, have a different opinion because this and this and this. This
Mm-hmm.
is also not missionizing.
That's great distinction, because I've seen and I see a misunderstanding about that, and I think it's good to clear it up, because I see people's, saying you shouldn't be doing that, or like when I asked you once a long time ago, we were encouraged to send stuff about the peace symbol to in the mail,
Mhm.
and I asked you, I said, is that okay? Is that missionizing? And you told me no, it isn't.
No.
So I think it's because they have the choice to read it or not,
Mhm. Yeah,
correct?
or delete.
Or
You can
delete it.
delete
Yes.
such, or you can read or get upset or think, ponder. And so we also do. I also wrote. We have in Switzerland. We have a movement called Climate Strike.
Hmm.
Young people, the great Thunberg acolytes, are writing all kinds of nonsensical stuff here.
Hmm.
They are illogical claims, and so I wrote a longer article and sent to the various. There are various groups in the different regions of
Right.
Switzerland. This is also not missionizing, because I took. They have their claims.
Hmm.
I took their claims and analyzed them and explained how that all these main claims are lacking reasonableness and logicalness.
Right.
It's and so for help, I offered them to help them to
Yes.
get through to the to logic, or do I send also a long article to the political parties in Switzerland?
Hmm.
This is also not missionizing. And now my book here I sent to all the libraries for free here in the region, in Switzerland, in the main cities, and even to an antagonist of Billy, and he's also mentioned in contact reports because he's also a supporter of Karl Korff. So I sent to him, and I sent one book to a religious. It's Railinfo. It's called. It's kind of an office where people who are in fear that their relatives are in a sect can get information. Often say, is Figu a sect, or are the Mormons a sect, or the Scientology, and so. But the person who is giving his advice or is responsible for this site is of course is a Christian. Is a Christian. Therefore, he cannot be neutral. And I also, because on this website, Figu is not seen as very favorable, and so I sent him also a book, and so who knows, perhaps he will become he will take some impulse, but I don't expect, of course. It's more fun.
Yeah. I think it's better for us if we don't expect, right? We just go, well,
oh, never expect.
Yes.
Have no expectations. No, that's also if you have expectations of another person, how to react. It's also kind of an insult. It's a transgression about the freedom of that person,
exactly.
And it makes yourself feel bad because you are disappointed or mad. And so then your psyche has to suffer.
Yeah. So I'm glad we talked about this, because I've thought about this a lot, and in my own journey of understanding what was missionizing and what wasn't. And I think this is good that we're discussing this for other people, because I do see confusion where this is concerned.
Yeah.
And
also
your website. I wanted to tell us what your website is for people so they can go look at it.
Yeah, I will write it here. And but in my job, my profession as a director, in the beginning it was Christian institution actually, and I, as a non-Christian, was chosen as the director of all the seven homes. So all the time I separated my private life from the professional life. If someone asks me, what are you doing? Why are you going? What is with this Billy Meier? And so I said, you can look up for yourself. That's not my business here. You have to separate. And this was very, very good until the end, that I did have this strategy, because it was also respect for other human beings.
Yes.
I also took care that there is no religious influencing by employees towards the patients, to the handicapped persons. So that's also, I was taking care that the freedom of these handicapped people is also respected.
That's great. Well, what was I going to say? While you're writing down your website address, because I had no idea you had a private website, but now we know. And it had to do more with, I think, proselytizing. What was it? Let me see if I can think about what I was.
It's actually, the name is translated into English, Morning Dew.
Oh, okay.
I have not a good camera. Perhaps you
No, that's
see it.
good. Yep. Morgenthau. How?
morgentau.ch.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's great you're doing that. And
German, of course.
oh, so I remember what I was going to say. So those of us who have decided, like you yourself, and I've wondered about this about you, so I can ask you now because here you were a director of these facilities, yet you're out there in the public,
Hmm.
mixing it up with the Figu stuff. You're telling people, you're doing interviews, you're writing articles. And so those of us who have decided to use our real names, our faces, we take that risk that other people that know us are going to find out about what we're doing, right?
Hmm.
And I always wondered if that affected your personal life in any way, that if someone found out that you were a part of this and they felt very threatened by it.
Uh, I knew that people knew about my involvement with Figu and
Hmm.
Billy in the 80s. Billy and Calliope visited the home where I lived,
Oh, okay.
and the 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 people. How do you say? How do you say a person who is living in a home in English?
Resident, the
The
residents.
residents knew Billy, and a couple of times we went visiting the center with a bus full
Oh,
of
really?
people. We got barbecue and even Methusalem and Nathan and Atlant came to our family for holidays,
Oh,
and
okay.
so this was in the beginning, but later we stopped with this because times changed.
Oh,
And so, and then I knew some people knew about my involvement. They have seen the website and so, but since I never talked about it
right.
in work, they obviously they respected myself because
Hmm.
they recognized that I wouldn't missionize
Right.
anyone, and they have seen my behavior and how because I was very much respected from all the residents in all the
Yes.
homes and most of the the employees, and so I had really had a good time. I even once was in Germany in a show. In a show,
Hmm.
I was invited. This was secret. I didn't advise it everywhere.
Hmm.
The topic was abortion of handicapped people.
Okay.
Was that? And
Wow.
I didn't speak against it. I I'm working in a home for for disabled persons,
Hmm.
and I am not totally against abortion. That's
Right.
also kind of a conflict, but
Yeah.
only about one employee from another home addressed me and talked about this. Most of them haven't seen this 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 show, and so only about 1.5 months before starting my retirement, in the last stages of my professional life,
Hmm.
uh, a journalist in a Sunday paper
Oh,
dug out an article I wrote in a Figu bulletin and made a huge scandal scandal
really?
scandal in the newspaper and defaming and everything. And so I was the last month somehow was a little bit shaded by this, but all the employees and everything, I had a very great departure, um, not festival, a meeting where it was a very good. It was still a very good end of
They
my
supported you.
because people liked me
Mhm.
but to the outside they had to make to distance the institution had to distance themselves
Mhm.
from a certain information I had written in my long article. But so
So they had to do a disclaimer where they said, the views of our
yeah, we don't
institution doesn't
share
necessarily
this opinion and
yeah.
this belief of Christian Frehner, and
Mhm.
so. But everything then in the end went smooth, and there was a huge a gathering with all the employees and the residents and all kinds of. It was very moving.
Hmm.
The the last work day was also my birthday.
Oh,
And so everything came together, and I had a very good end of my
that's nice.
professional
That's great,
career. And
actually.
since then, of course, I have more time and I can be more active than before
Yes.
for
And now
FIGU.
you don't have the worry, or if you did worry, especially at the end when that reporter, because it's as you become more and more, you know, visual with this, there's going to be more people, coming after you.
Yeah, of course. I'm not. I don't have to take care about opinions anymore. I don't
Hmm.
have. I can say what I want. Of course, since the beginning of June, I'm now in the local council in my village.
Okay.
I'm in politics, so to say, in
Okay.
the in the, in
Because you
the
want to make
village
a
council.
difference.
In the village council,
Yeah.
but of course, there also I separate
Hmm.
my activities with FIGU, but
Yes.
everyone, when I had my presentation, I would be willing to take over this office,
Hmm.
this office. You can, if you want to have know more from myself, you can go to my website and then you find information, plenty
Right.
of information. You can make a picture of myself, and I was elected with a very good result. Uh, and so, but here also separating in the meetings, in the council.
Hmm.
But of course, if it comes to overpopulation, I'm free to tell and mention this in a discussion
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
if it suits in the discussion, of course. So,
Hmm. Yeah, it's just
yeah.
not out of the blue.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. If it makes sense, then it actually, if people speak, it should make sense all the time, more or less.
Yes. And going back to your book, I also wanted to mention how, uh, this is a totally different subject. It's about the weather, um, that the claims that CalCorp made about what the weather was. And it was so easy for you to disprove that. It's almost
Yeah,
comical.
yeah. It's
It's
the
just
whole
like,
the whole explanation. It's actually he's standing there without any trousers on in the,
uh-huh.
by just going through one chapter, and I could continue with all the chapters, and the result would be it's devastating actually
Yes.
for the of course intellect or reputation actually.
Hmm.
But it's like it is. Perhaps I wouldn't have been capable to do this 30 years ago, but now all these yeah, these logical thoughts are coming in
Hmm.
when I'm writing, and so it's also obviously it has some effect studying spiritual teaching,
Yeah,
and
I
so there
I
is some
I know what you
finally
mean.
some benefit of 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 detecting logic. So
Yeah, I because I've noticed the same thing in the, you know, 12 years I've been studying it, how much better my thinking is, how much
Mhm.
more logical my thinking is, how much
Yeah.
stronger
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
my understanding and when especially as a woman, I used to think, well, what do I know? Even when I was on the right track, I would doubt myself because
Mhm.
I had this in my subconscious or something that I wasn't correct or that because someone else was saying it wasn't true, then it wasn't. And it's really helped me a lot with being sure about things when I'm on the right track and
Mhm.
I understand that I'm being logical and that what I'm thinking is correct and that's just because someone else doesn't see it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that I'm, on the wrong track. I think that's been really helpful.
Yeah, and that's of course it's also the logic and the law of cause and effect.
Mhm.
The more you preoccupy yourself with reality, the
Yes.
the more benefit you get from it. The more clearness, the more profound security.
Mhm.
Also, you have more you are with firm feet standing on the ground. Actually,
Yes.
not floating in the sky from all the influences, and so you actually then you hold the steering wheel of your life firm in your
Yeah.
hand.
And I see as, when you kind of look back and you're analyzing things like maybe in your life, that if parents could understand that when they deny reality to their kids, to their children, they are destroying that ability to see what is real. When a child will point out something and say, and the parent may be uncomfortable with it or whatever, and they deny it,
Hmm.
that's destroying that ability to see the truth.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think it's really
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
So,
also it's therefore it's of paramount importance that the children are getting the correct answers if they are
yes.
asking and not but yeah, but of course for this you would need parents who are knowledgeable, of
Yes.
course, but that's also not the case. But
Yes.
yeah, it's a lot. Therefore, it's a long process, as we know. At least 800 years will
Mhm.
pass into the future until reason and understanding and comprehension will start unfold on a larger scale, and so we have to face hard times.
Mhm. And that's starting here though. The seeds that are being planted now.
Hmm.
Would you say
Hmm. Yeah.
hopefully? Hopefully. So, well, I've let people know on Facebook where to get your book, but I also um, want to say here that they can get it from the Figure website, correct?
Yes, and
And
Michael Horn ordered
okay,
and the Canadian group, Figolandesgruppe Canada, ordered
okay,
also many books, and yeah, it's rather cheap or not not so expensive than the other books because
yeah,
it's a small booklets and it's yeah, my interest is that it's sold out quickly because I don't intend to make another edition
oh,
be-
okay,
because when it's sold out, perhaps it will be available as a PDF then. But these 1,600 books,
that's
I
just what
don't
I was going
think
to ask you.
they will be sold out soon. So, mhm.
Well, then I'm sure they will be actually.
Yeah, then of course, if they are sold out in a 1 year, I get back to my decision, and
Mhm.
perhaps I will do make let me do another printing. That's possible,
Yeah,
but I'm not so sure. But
you're just waiting to see how it goes, right? You know, this is your first
mhm.
book. Are you planning? This is your first book, right?
Yeah, it's actually the second. The first one, I was
Oh,
translating UFO, researching a real UFO into German. That was actually the first book I published, but it's not my work. It's just a translation. But I have other books
Your
in
head.
on my to-do list, and I
Hmm.
have started already. But this will need time because there are also several articles and the films, and so are also cooking in here.
In your head. Okay. Well, thank you so much for the interview. I knew it would be really interesting to talk to you. And it's nice to see you again after, I think it's been 3 years or
Yeah, yeah,
such.
yeah, and I, I have still have searched for the English words uh, in all these discussions and interviews. I'm not the speaker. I'm more the writer,
Mhm.
actually.
That's okay. Christian, um, I think because you've been exposed to this information for so long, anybody who has logic, it's nice to hear from anyone who is logical. And I know you're human and we all have moments where we're like, okay, was I being logical right then?
Yeah, yeah,
But, you're striving so much to um, be a better human being. And,
yeah, yeah. And I'm also learning. I since I'm responsible for the core group for the English correspondence worldwide.
mhm,
Of course I have to when I'm answering emails, and so I learning from myself because I have to study, think about it.
mhm,
Even my answers are not very long
mhm,
because want to take over the thinking of
right,
of the questionnaires, and so I just give just as one should do with little children,
mhm,
just answer what they have asked and not stuff them with all kinds of useless information. And
right,
so I'm tending to keep my answers short, but I try to do the best and as accurate as possible. And if I don't know something, I write and
right.
say I don't know.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I know our group appreciates your patience with because you're dealing with all the Americans.
No,
We appreciate it.
that's a you shouldn't think or feel about this like this. It's just everyone is doing as his or her duty, and this is to be fulfilled as good as possible. And
Oh, yeah, I know that. That's not really what I mean. I just know that sometimes dealing with human beings is difficult.
yeah, yeah, but in the United States also reasonable people are living,
Yeah.
and so you should not always generalizing by putting people down on whole peoples and nations, and so
Yeah.
everywhere there are reasonable people,
You're
even
right.
if they
Yeah.
are a minority. It looks like at least, and but I know you people in the United States, you are not living in paradise, and so the prospects are not very good. But then it's also important for you to not let yourself drawn down by all this information because
Mhm.
every every day, each day, there are positive things
Yes,
also,
exactly.
small aspects, and so but you have to see them. If your mind is full of all the catastrophes and everything, the politics, then it's bad for the psyche,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's also irresponsible to let this happen
Yeah.
for a person because
Mhm.
this also is a part of becoming more open to reality, to see the
Mhm.
positive and the negative, and to take care of your own psyche and not
Yes.
taking everything personally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And, I don't know. I think what helps me is with what's going on is my immediate surroundings are good
Mm-hmm.
and my life is good. And I look at that and say, well, there is stuff going on out there,
Mm-hmm.
but things are still good. Even if you're in a difficult situation, there's opportunities to maybe to make it better or to even just deal with what you're facing, like being surrounded by smoke I mean, I got up this morning and I thought it was snowing when I first looked out the window
Yeah.
because there's
Mm-hmm.
ash and you know
Mm-hmm.
you can't see the mountains. I thought it was fog just for a second, and then I remembered,
Mm-hmm.
and still I feel optimism. So
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
of course, of course. And
yeah,
if your house burns down, it's it's uh, uh, it's uh, it's annoying. It's
yes,
sad and everything. But as long as you survive,
yes,
as long as you survive, and your head is functioning correctly, then
yes. Well, we've even
that's
discussed
important.
that. I think just like facing, if you had to face, you contemplate your death, right? So that you accept it. We've also looked at, okay, well, if our house burns down, we'll just build it, rebuild it, and maybe we'll have things we didn't have before,
Hmm.
design, or, we just think, well, that we'll just deal with it when it comes.
Hmm.
And it's transitory. Things come and go in life all the time. So
Hmm.
yeah, my main concern is just how the smoke affects the animals in the area. I know that that's hard on their respiratory systems, and it's hard on ours, but we can stay inside.
Hmm.
So I'm concerned about things like that, but yeah, we're just, you know, it is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. And what you can change, you can change, but there are things you cannot change, and then
Hmm.
it's of course you can have maybe some kind of depressed or of that realizing this, but it's really important to concentrate on the things you can change.
Exactly.
That's it. Mainly it's what's happening inside here
Mhm.
and here. That's and the surroundings,
Yep.
but really the only thing you can change is yourself.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
mhm,
Okay. Well,
or the
thank you.
myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Ourselves.
ourselves. We,
Ourselves. Yeah.
yeah. When I'm using you in
Yeah.
German, one says Mann. It's general. It's not directed at the opposite
I
person.
understand that.
And
Yeah.
so it's when I'm saying you should, and so it's generally
Yes.
meant, and so
Yeah. I get that.
yeah,
The
yeah,
same way
yeah.
here.
Yeah, but for the listeners also
Yeah.
perhaps they have a different understanding. But because I
Yes, that's
once
true.
discussed with a person,
Hmm.
I was explaining generally, but the
Yeah.
person took it personally. So
Yeah. I
got
know.
mad,
That's something
got mad, and so yeah,
yeah, we all have to work on that.
yeah.
Yeah. Not taking things personally. It's so freeing
Mhm.
because you're not walking around suffering and inside over it. You're just
Yeah.
like, no,
Mhm.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Okay.
thank you. And I hope maybe with your next book or some other issue, we can maybe do this again now that we've got this worked out. That
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
challenge.
I'm open for interviews. So yeah,
Good.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I
If
appreciate
it's
it.
not every week.
Oh, no. I don't even do them every week right now because I'm in the middle of still of canning, my produce from my garden.
Mhm.
And so there's so much to do. I have to kind of, I was doing them once a week with different people, but now I'm going every other week and I'm interviewing all different types of people because everybody has something to offer,
Exactly.
hmm
Mhm. Mhm.
to say and to learn from.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, will you have a really good night, Christian?
Thank you. And you are good. What's now? It's
Afternoon
2
here.
o'clock in the afternoon there.
Yes.
Have a
Yes.
good afternoon.
Thank you. And
Kind regards to Bill.
oh yeah, he told me to say the same to you. Regards to you also. I
Mhm.
almost forgot that.
Mhm.
And if you
And the group.
there's a little in the group, yes. And there's a little bio of you in here, isn't there, about you in this book, if I remember right, that
Mhm.
I can use in my intro?
At the beginning, in the beginning,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought so. So I'll
Mhm.
use that for my intro.
Yeah, yeah.
So look for
Mhm.
this next, should be published next Friday, and I'll send you a link.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Mhm.
welcome. And
You're
thank
welcome
you.
too. Okay. Bye bye.
Salome.
Salome.
Bye.